Alexa devices.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. It's been an incredible week this week. In the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, a lot of people counting their blessings. We don't like to say on this show and haven't that we dodged a bullet, because the truth is we dodged a brunt. You know, there have been parts of coastal Mississippi that have been impacted. We had the tragedy that on Highway 26 in George County, just an incredibly tough situation. I think the way that the mayor of Pascagoula described that yesterday, of those people plunging, the terror of plunging into that abyss that was created by that washout, just hard to even get your head around. And hopefully those who survived that accident, that they're healing, and they continue to have our prayers. That is for sure. But but the bottom line is, we've talked to Mayor of Biloxi and Gulfport and Pass Christian and Pascagoula and Waveland, and today we have my friend Kenny Holloway from the city of Ocean Springs. Kenny, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ricky. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, listen, I have to ask you, I'm curious, as you saw Ida forming out there and it becomes this massive storm, obviously none of us felt comfortable about it until it got past us to the south. But it had to occur to you that you had just become mayor of Ocean Springs, and now we have this killer storm setting off our coast. What goes through your mind in a situation like that?
Well, you get that sick feeling in your stomach, and because you and I both experienced Katrina. We lived almost a quarter mile away from each other. You had extensive damage to your house. I lost everything except the clothes on our backs. Understanding what they're going through in Louisiana right now, and it's just heart-wrenching. We started preparing for the storm about 4 days in advance, just having meetings, getting our public works, our parks and rec, the EOC up and running, just trying to clear streets, ditches, drainage areas, making sure we had barricades in the low areas. So it was a lot of preparation that we were doing in advance of the storm that, in hindsight, we're going to have to do it again. I know we're going to have to do it again a lot in the next 4 years, but it was a good drill for us. You never want to wish that on anybody, but we were very, very fortunate, and now comes the cleanup, and now comes the rebuilding. As you and I both served on the Governor's Reviving the Renaissance, committee after Katrina, it can be done. It's going to be painful for those folks, but they'll get out of it. They're resilient in that part of Louisiana.
Yeah, I talk about resiliency all the time on this show, and certainly have reflected on that this whole week, that when you are in a situation like with Katrina and like they are now in Louisiana with Hurricane Ida, you learn your ability to dig deep. You can do things that you never thought were possible. I mean, I just think about Ida, for example, and I shared this in shows this week, but I track my sleep. I have a Fitbit watch. I'm a big exercise freak, and I exercise a lot, and I track my sleep. And over a 3-day period, I had 4 hours of sleep. And in 2 days prior to that 3-day period, I only had 4 to 6 hours each night. Now, look, what I know about me, I need 7.5. If I can get 7.5, I can, I'm the Energizer Bunny. Anything less than that, I'm not. But, even in the moment, man, 4 hours in 3 days, we were ready. It's amazing how we have the ability to adjust to the moment. Our life, everything that we were doing prior to getting on this hurricane watch just gets frozen. It becomes, you're only focused on your family and your friends and your, whatever physical possessions you're trying to protect. And in your case, you got the added burden of a city. That changes your perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And, you just kind of play it through your mind. What's the worst case scenario and how are we going to deal with it? I remember after Katrina, the storm wasn't what they had to deal with. It was all the volunteers and the people coming to help. I remember Vincent Creel saying, we can't manage all the people coming in trying to help us rebuild. And, so several things went through my mind just at the time, thinking back about what I did, watching AJ and, what he was going through. Stressful times, really stressful times.
Well, luckily we don't have to deal with that. But as you look around you, man, I mean, you're surrounded in that city, in the fire department, in the police department, and public works, and just employees and administration who have been there before, and they rise to the occasion, and even in the prep moment. But you have to have a lot of pride looking at who you're surrounded by.
We talked about that yesterday. I like yourself, I exercise daily, and I was walking yesterday, and we had crews on the beach cleaning up. We basically got started Monday afternoon, and we've got both beaches cleaned, and that's really where our debris was. Throughout the city, not a lot going on, limbs here and there, but we've got the beach cleared up. We got a big holiday weekend coming up, and we want the citizens to be able to enjoy that beach. So. Parks and Rec, Public Works, Fire, Police, they're the real backbone of the city. That's really the people you rely on. And I made it a point to stop and talk to them and thank them for what they were doing. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what, the work they've done in such a short period of time, getting back, trying to get back to the normal state where we were before.
Yeah, it is amazing. We're lucky in coastal Mississippi to have so many dedicated employees who work for cities across the coast and there in Ocean Springs. Hey, listen, I'm curious. You coming into this new role as mayor, you had a lot of, we talked just before you became mayor, maybe once since, but now that you've had a little bit of time in the seat, what's your biggest surprise so far?
The passion of the residents of Ocean Springs. It's a passionate group, and that's good. They're engaged. And the time I've had to spend in meetings, I thought I'd have a little bit more time to get out and, around the city, which it's tapering off now. And I will, because I like to be out about. I don't like to be caught up in the office, in front of a computer. I like to be out and see what's going on, riding with. Yesterday, Public Works Director and I rode around for a couple of hours, assessing some damage and looking at things. And, I think it's important for them to realize that, I'm just another guy just like they are. And I don't hold myself at any higher level than I expect for them. And so I think we've got a lot done in 2 months. This is 2 months today. And the city's moving forward. We've got a lot of things going on. So I'm happy, and I'm having fun with it too. And that's the whole thing. I'm having fun with it.
Well, look, okay, so first of all, as a publisher of a paper, which I was publisher of 3 or 4 different newspapers along my career, I know what it's like. People who read the newspaper, very passionate people. So, you tweak anything or make any changes, you're the buck stops with you. So I know what that looks like. And I know what it means to make major changes in a social media world. It's hard to do that. And to be a public servant today, in a social media world, it's even tougher. But as it relates to Ocean Springs specifically, you and I talked about this before. People in Ocean Springs tend to be more educated. They tend to be more passionate. Everybody's passionate about their cities, but boy, if you go back in history, you can go back as far as you want to go. Ocean Springs has always had a loud voice from their citizenry, which is one of the reasons why democracy has prevailed so well in Ocean Springs. You find a better place when people's voices are heard. You know all about that. We talked about it many times, but it's different now that you're in the chair and it's directed. You get to hear it directly. It's just different, isn't it?
It is different, and fortunately, I've got thick skin. So, it doesn't, I hear them, I listen. I don't get worked up about it. Throughout the campaign, one of the folks that was working with me, he said, I've never seen somebody so calm, with all the things that are going on as you. And he said, I've worked with a lot of different people running for political office. And I'm thinking, well, just, it is what it is. You just deal with it and you move on to the next situation. So.
People ask me, throughout my career when there would be tough moments. And I said this in one of the mayors this week, that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But I actually adopted a new phrase that when the going gets tough, the tough get calm. Because if you don't as a leader with so much, going on around you, then you send out the wrong energy to people around you. I think that calmness actually is a good reflection. And it also means this. I just say that if I was going in a direction that was sort of controversial or had a lot of change attached to it, I would do my homework on the change that we were about to make and make sure that I was confident in that. Because in order to be calm, you got to be confident. You have to have, but at the same time, when you're confident, you got to still listen, because you might hear something that tweaks the plan. You've always said that the more voices you have involved in a decision you have to make, the better the decision is going to be. I mean, that's the reality. When we come back, we'll finish this part of the conversation, see if there's any lingering things that Mayor Holloway wants to talk about as it relates to Hurricane Ida, and then we'll shift gears and talk about some other stuff. We'll be back after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I was actually looking at my phone because we have a regular visit with Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune coming up in the next segment. And he's at a conference call now with the New Orleans Saints, who are in Dallas. And the team, certain members of the team from the NOLA.com sports team actually evacuated to Pensacola so they could have communication and be together, so they sort of assess the situation. He's actually en route back to the city of New Orleans. And, they're just trying to work through the situation. As you can imagine, no power in the city. In some places, maybe as much as a couple of weeks. You can only imagine how challenging that's going to be. But I look forward to having Jeff. He's going to be joining us by phone at some point, and then we'll get an update, see how he's doing, see how the people around him are doing. But tough situation they're facing in New Orleans. It's not their first time. Jeff was on the Pulitzer Prize-winning team for Times-Picayune and NOLA.com after Hurricane Katrina. So this is not his first rodeo, but it still doesn't make it any easier. Okay, so we're going to come back to Kenny Holloway. Kenny, when we went to the break, though, we were just talking about, you have to just be willing to listen to people in the community. And you said going into this that you were going to surround yourself by smart people. You were going to listen a lot. And so, that's the way you get through some of the noise, is you have confidence that you've done your homework on these tough decisions you have to make in the city. That's essentially your approach, isn't it?
It is. Yep. That was part of, it's always been my approach. I never want to be the smartest guy in the room, but I do want to have smart people in their fields around me. And that's the way we're working at City Hall. We've created a team atmosphere here. The whole process and preparation for Ida, whatever it might have been, we worked as a team, and everybody towed their line. And it was, like I said earlier, it was a good preparation for future events that I'm sure we're going to be dealing with in the next 4 years. But I was real proud of everybody and the way they pulled together.
That's really good. Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about COVID, but before I do it, as you evaluate the goals that you had when you came in, which one of the things that you talked about, maybe a major hotel? You got great boutique hotels in the city, but for the purpose of youth sports and hosting the kind of events that are possible there, you wanted people staying in the city of Ocean Springs and not in some other city.
Right.
You talked about economic development opportunities for the city, and you had a long list of things. You were in the real estate business, so you sort of understand value of real estate and you understand economic development, et cetera. But of the things you wanted to do, which one that gets you most excited now that you're sitting in that seat?
Well, we've put together the budget. We're in the budget process, so we budgeted monies for those different things that I've talked about. Annexation, we're putting money in the budget for annexation. I think that's key for the city to grow to the east and grow to the north around I-10. So that's in there. We're beefing up our, trying to dress up our parks and recreation department, and we put some good money in refurbishing some of the parks that have been neglected in the past. We are in the process of working our way through a redevelopment authority, which will be interesting. Gulfport has one that's done real well. Pascagoula has one that's been positive for their city, and I think we've got areas in Ocean Springs that type of group can help us. So that's in the formation process also. So beautification, we've been sprucing up town. We've got 2 huge events showing up: Cruising the Coast and the Peter Anderson Festival. And if COVID can cooperate with us a little bit, we're going to bring some good activities to town. And so we in the past 2 months, things have ramped up, and we've got a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, when you and I talked about the development authority that you want to do there in Ocean Springs, I personally think it's a great idea, just because you're talking about bringing people into that effort that can help sort of raise the bar. And when you think about the BP restoration money that's available, and it could be used to help sort of augment private development. Maybe it could be mixed use. It could be any number of things. So like you guys are building a parking garage from the BP money now, but the opportunity to raise the bar and really go after that even more aggressively and try to create the kind of partnerships for the city. But more important really is just have an area that focuses on where some of the potential opportunities are for the city to make sure that we're not losing any opportunities. Because I think Fofo said it best when he said opportunities are like water. It's hard to hold them. I think that's just a great way to say it. And that's the way you see it as well, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is a great way to say it. And, you said something about the mayors along the coast. Well, the mayors along the coast have been in communication about several things. We've done some Skype stuff. And so we've got a group of mayors, I think, that see the big picture. They see that we're more powerful in numbers when we have to go to Jackson or go to Washington for some of that aid to make sure we continue to grow and beef up our infrastructure. So we also budgeted monies for myself and some key personnel to go to Jackson. It's important for us to be seen there, to lobby for certain projects that we have going on, and we've just put a study out, and we should be getting it back shortly on some major infrastructure needs that we need. So when we do go to Jackson for that, the funds that are there, whether it's the CARE Act or whether it's BP monies, we're going to have shovel-ready projects to put in front of these legislatures and explain to them the need to keep Ocean Springs growing and keep providing taxes to the city, the county, and the state.
So when we talk about infrastructure, it doesn't, to the average person who just hears the word infrastructure, it doesn't feel sexy. It feels sort of mundane. But as a developer yourself, and as someone who, like me, was sort of deep in the recovery effort after Hurricane Katrina, the notion of highways and roads and sewage and water infrastructure and all of the things that go with that. These are sort of this, if you're thinking about greasing the skids to make economic development happen faster and easier, having the infrastructure in place to enable that is really important. And this is not something that happens overnight. It takes tens of millions of dollars. It takes, look at the city of Biloxi. I mean, even today, rebuilding infrastructure from Hurricane Katrina, 16 years later. So you have to have a long range plan, but you have a city like Ocean Springs that's literally, busting at the seams with people interested in buying homes there and, building businesses there. This is something that has to happen sooner or later. More sooner than later, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of like, you build a house or any kind of building that you put in. The foundation has got to be solid. And the foundation for the city is water, sewer, drainage. That's what you have to take care of that before you can put anything on top of it. Talking about the budget a little bit, we've also allocated money for our new comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is 11 years old. So, that should be updated probably every 6 years. It's a 25-year plan, but things change rapidly, and so we're doing a lot of stuff right now in preparation for the next 20 years, and that's just another part of it that has to be done.
I love the talk of that, because strategic focus, it sort of gives you a vision of where you're headed. And the decisions today can always be made within the context of that. So if something's not a good fit, you either change the plan or you don't let something happen that's not going to be a good fit with that plan. But it's a great guiding light. It gives you the ability to articulate a vision as the leader of that city that people can buy into and get excited about. And you've got man, if you look at the city of Ocean Springs, you got a lot to work with, don't you?
We do. We have a lot to work with. And we have an older city. It's old, especially downtown area. We've got, pipes that are crumbling. We have to take care of that. But overall, I think I tell the staff and the aldermen, we've got to get away from the Band-Aid approach, and we've got to get to the planning and long-term infrastructure approach. And the city's financially in pretty decent shape. We've done well with our 2% tax, food, beverage, and lodging. Our sales tax revenue is up. With ad valorem taxes, there's going to be a small increase there. It's not going to be anything that breaks the bank, but we've got some good folks in the city clerk's office that and our accounting department that have laid out a good budget and a good plan for us. So if we manage our money right, which I'm sure we will, we're gonna make some improvements.
Hey, in the short time we have left, you've heard me talk about on the air my experience in spending some time with Lee Bond at Ocean Springs Hospital in the ICU there, and watching these incredible critical care professionals. Man, they've just been overwhelmed. But man, you're lucky to have such a dedicated team right there in your city, aren't you?
We are. You know, we work with the hospital real well. We've done some COVID shot clinics around town. We're going to use a civic center for a drive-through testing and vaccination unit, and that's going to start next week. So we're doing our part as a city and trying to make sure as many people are vaccinated as can be.
It is definitely a pandemic of the unvaccinated these days, and hopefully people will continue to hear these gut-wrenching stories and go get vaccinated. Anyway, Kenny Holloway, my friend, it's so great to talk to you and watch you as mayor of the city of Ocean Springs. Keep up the great work.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop,
desktop, or on your phone or tablet
by going to supertalkmsgolfcoast.com.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Here the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and, wow. All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. This has been a heck of a week here on Coast View in this post-Ida situation. Man, we dodged the brunt of that storm, that is for sure. We've had a great week of conversations with mayors. The mayor of Pass Christian and Waveland and Biloxi and Gulfport and Ocean Springs and Pascagoula. We've talked to them all. And, the others that we haven't talked to, we've invited them or we plan to invite them. So the goal would be to get to all of the local mayors here along coastal Mississippi, so many of them new to their positions. It's a great chance to kind of check in with them and count our blessings with them. That is for sure. But I enjoyed that conversation just now with Kenny Holloway, and he's just terrific in Ocean Springs. So let me invite my friend Cal Curley into the conversation. Cal, as you know, today's Jeff Duncan Day on Coast View. And I should tell people that we're not sure if Jeff's going to join us tonight. He's on the road. He wants to be here. He may join us at some time during this conversation, but he lives in New Orleans. He works for the team of NOLA.com and Times-Picayune. They've got their hands full as we speak, sorting through everything. But we're lucky to have Jeff as a member of our team, aren't we, Kyle?
Yes, we are. I can only imagine what he's going through and what he's going back to, whether or not if he's going to be on the early power list of people or one of those that's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks at most, or if not longer.
Could be longer. I just read where Entergy has one transmission line up and they'll be turning certain parts of the city back on slowly but surely, but in some cases it could take weeks. I thought this is actually a really good sort of assessment of the situation. Let's see, Jeff and members of the NOLA.com and Times-Picayune team went over to Pensacola so they could work from there where they were guaranteed they would have power, et cetera. But Luke Johnson, who's one of the day-to-day reporters for the New Orleans Saints, said this in the newsletter. I've mentioned this before. If you haven't signed up for the NOLA.com Saints newsletter, I really highly recommend it. It is absolutely terrific, and they've got the best team by far covering the Saints. And, of course, Jeff Duncan's now a member of that team. He's now the foundation of that team. It's just terrific. But the headline said this: is it cool if we just focus on Saints football for a second? Now, that was this morning. I can understand why they ask it that way, because you got the majority of the city has no power. And, it's a tough time for the city. But here's what he said. This is Luke Johnson from the NOLA.com Times-Picayune team. I don't know about y'all, but these last few days were quite a bummer for yours truly. He said, my wife, my 2 dogs, and myself spent Sunday sitting inside our house watching Hurricane Ida batter our Algiers Point neighborhood for hours in the rain and wind. We made the decision Monday morning to head to Florida, where there's more air-conditioned, hot showers, and this newsletter is coming to you from Pensacola. And by the way, that's where Jeff was as well. And then they go on to talk about, the Saints team having, being extremely disrupted, having to move all over to Dallas. And in the midst of all of that, they had to cut down to the 53-man roster. And, man, they've had their hands full, haven't they, Kyle?
Yeah, they really have. To be able to, the ultimate way of finding out that the world still revolves around outside of what's happening in your world is if you look at the NFL or something like that, I mean, life goes on. They packed up everything before the storm, said, we're out of here, and then saw what happened back at home and said, okay, we're staying here. We still have things to do. Sean Payton is doing his very best to keep everybody in that organization focused on what's at hand, and that season starts next week. And to do that, you've got to get down to the roster spots, and that's what he did. You know, there's no poor pitiful Sean, let's give him another day or two. Nope, deadline's a deadline.
Hey, I just heard from Jeff actually, and he was going to pull over at the Long Beach exit on his way to New Orleans and dial in. And I told him, no need to do that. We'll handle it. Kyle and I'll handle it. He gave me some really interesting information though that we'll get into here in just a second. But the latest is his house is fine in New Orleans. He's going to go straight there. He's got to clean out his refrigerator and freezer and the stuff that obviously you got to do after a situation like this. He's encouraged by the rolling turn-ons that they're having now that they've got at least one transmission line hooked up. His gut tells him that the city overall will get the power back sooner than they expected. They're saying weeks because they don't want to overpromise. They may encounter some real challenges that they do workarounds. That's essentially what they're doing. They're doing a lot of workarounds in the city right now. He said, in fact, that the team has rented a house in Bay St. Louis, and they're going to work out of Bay St. Louis's closest city. They've also rented a house in Dallas, and so he's going to be sort of toggling between Bay St. Louis and Dallas until they get the power back on in New Orleans. But sounds like an interesting life that Jeff's going to have. He'll be back on with us next week, and we can talk more about that. But I'm not surprised about all the work they're going to have to do to create workarounds so they can stay focused on covering the Saints, because the Saints can't let any of this be a distraction. They're seriously focused on doing what they got to do to put a winner on the field this year. They're really focused, aren't they, buddy?
Yeah, they really are. Like I said, you can't give them a break just because of what happened. Life's got to go on, and that's the unfortunate thing about nature events such as a hurricane and people get dealt hands. You got to keep going no matter what. So,
well, what he told me, this is interesting. So the headline was Saints play season opener against Packers in Jacksonville. It's a national story. Jeff and Amy Just from NOLA.com and Times Picayune broke that story, and they did it from gridlock on I-10. They did it from inside the car, using the cellular phones to break this national story. But everyone thought they were going to play in Dallas, and I saw an interview with Jones from the owner of Dallas. Saw an interview with him where he said, there's a lot of moving parts, and what he seemed kind of iffy about it, which is almost like they didn't want the Saints to play there. But it sounds like Saints abandoned that idea and moved to the idea of having their first game in Jacksonville. So that's good. All this is really unfolding as we speak, by the way, Kyle. So it'd be interesting to know or learn if you get a note, since you do the music in Superdomes during Saints games, they're going to ship you to Jacksonville to do the game.
It'll be interesting. We have about 25 seconds left, but I have not heard anything about going forward. There is an email chain running around. Everybody seems to be okay, and they're all starting to get back in town. So maybe we'll find out something soon. So
Kyle, let's look at the 53-man roster. There are a few surprises. Of course, I'm not so surprised. Maybe actually I am surprised with some of the moves they made at quarterback. Of course, Jameis Winston, he's been named the starter. The big question mark was going to be what's going to be Taysom Hill's role. Is he going to be literally the backup quarterback, or is he going back to that Swiss Army knife role? Ian Book, the incredible record-breaking quarterback from Notre Dame, who had a great camp, obviously made it, and Simeon didn't make it. But I read a little bit more this morning. They actually intend to bring Simeon back. Well, they had the initial 53-man roster, and then they make a bunch of moves, don't they?
Yeah, it looks like they'll probably put Simeon back on at least the practice roster, the practice team, and maybe part of the travel squad in case something happens. Yeah, they do. They let everybody go. They put everybody on the roster that they want to keep, like the Michael Thomases of the world, and then put them on injured or PUP list or whatever you want to call it. And then they start putting their practice team together and secure spots that way. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think, some people say that even though Simeon did not have a good camp, that they still are really leaning toward having him in as an experienced backup, and then have Ian Book be the third string quarterback, and maybe pencil Taysom Hill in at some other role, like wouldn't be running back. It could be tight end or something like that. But that the intention for Taysom is to put him back into that multiple player role. They want him to be able to contribute to the team. That seems to be what's at foot here.
I think that is the overall that adds to the overall dynamic of their offense. If you don't have the threat of Taysom coming in, whether or not, if when Taysom comes in, whether he's going to run right or run left, still you have to stop him, and you have to stop that offensive line from pushing you out of the way. So that's one thing. But if you get rid of the dynamic of the threat, then I think that makes the Saints an easy offense to tame.
So a running back, interesting move. So there was some discussion about Tony Jones Jr. and man, he had a great camp and he was playing extremely well in preseason. And as Jeff pointed out, he also plays special teams. So you had some really significant veterans that were being talked about, but who made the team were Tony Jones, of course, Alvin Kamara, Ty Montgomery, who's going to be in. He's in as a running back, but they're going to be playing him as a wide receiver at least until Michael Thomas gets back. Then Latavius Murray and Dwayne Washington. So no big surprises there. What are your thoughts about that?
No, I didn't think we'd see that much of a surprise there. And, I think the Saints pretty much knew all along who was going to be on the roster at the end. I don't think there was too many surprises. I don't think there's too many surprises up and down the roster, really.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Maybe some of the surprises are, and we'll get to that before this is over with, is how some of the positions we thought might be weak positions looks like we may actually be much better off than we expected. I mean, we thought we might need to get some depth at wide receiver. And we'll come back to that in a second. We thought we might have to really do some work at secondary on defense. But anyway, we're coming to the end of this segment, buddy.
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds left. I think the one position that we have to continue to look at is cornerbacks. I think, that back end on the defense, man, we get burned over the top a lot.
Well, Jeff has given us a lot of sort of color on that particular position, and we'll cover that when we get back. But we'll finish the 53-man roster. Jeff Duncan is not going to be able to join us. He did call in while we were doing the show and gave us some insights. He'll be back with us next week, but we'll see you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. It's Jeff Duncan Day, or we should say maybe Saints Day, but Jeff Duncan, who works for NOLA.com at the Times-Picayune, he did call in and he offered to pull over on the side of the interstate coming from Pensacola back to New Orleans to sort of do his hurricane recovery. And they've been obviously focused on the Saints because there's been no rest for the weary with the Saints as they work to get their 53-man roster down. And now they're focused on getting ready for that first game against the Green Bay Packers, which is now going to be in Jacksonville, not Dallas. They're going to continue to practice in Dallas, but the first home game is going to be in Jacksonville. That's why it's going to be interesting to see if our own Kyle Curley, who does the music at the Superdome during the Saints games, if he's going to be going to Jacksonville or not. But this is literally a hot story, just kind of a national breaking story that Jeff just did. Hey, so Kyle, let's go to wide receivers. So no big surprises here, but I'm really feeling good about where we are. So we can't say enough good things about Marquez Callaway. What a stud he's been in the preseason.
Yeah, that was that's a terrific find right there. That's somebody you didn't really count on being at the level that he was. Had a great preseason. It made a lot of people kind of sit back and go, Michael who? But at the end, you're really going to want Michael Thomas and him to both go completely insane. I think the receiver core is going to be real good this year. I think we have all the markings to be able to get downfield and make the big plays when we need to and keep some of these other defenses kind of guessing the whole way.
No doubt about it. I mean, boy, you can think about, again, going down the field with Jameis Winston as a quarterback. It's going to be really interesting. We haven't seen any of Dante Harris, or at least for the most part, Dante Harris coming from the receiver role. He's only 5'6" and 170 pounds, but he is going to be a game changer. He's fast. He's ready. He did a lot of work during the offseason. He was already a very, 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 scary player. But since he's so small, they worry about him getting hurt, so they're really protecting him as much as they possibly can. But, Dante brings a whole nother element to the Saints, doesn't he? Listen, I called you Jeff, man.
You kind of have to almost equate him to the role Darren Sproles played when he was with us.
Yeah.
Sproul's smaller guy, but really fast. So they know how to operate in those constraints. They know what they have to do, and it's just a matter of execution. And can they get him around the end? Can they get him in the open, maybe over the top, right through the middle, sneak in between corners and linebackers, and then get upfield? It'd be great to see. It's
going to be fun. Then we have Traquan Smith, who has been just a great project and coming along really well. And then LaJordan Humphrey, who's 6'4" and 225 from Texas. He's a stud as well. I think we're in good shape in our receiving core. Let's move to tight ends. The who made the team, again, no big surprises here really either, except for there's one that's a good project that may turn out to be a big-time player for the Saints. But we have Garrett Griffin, of course, Adam Troutman, who's number one. His injury to his foot or ankle was not as severe, so they expect him to be back pretty quick. Nick Vanett, and then a guy by the name of Juwan Johnson, who was literally a receiver, a big, tall guy, 6'4", 231 pounds from Oregon. Boy, they're expecting some big things for Juwan Johnson, aren't they, Kyle?
Yeah, they really are. We're looking for another good tight end. You've got to have somebody that can get in there and mix it up and have some muscle behind you, some power to really fight your way through and get up in the air to not only be above anyone that's covering you, but be able to come down and still get some yards after the catch.
Listen to this. Garrett Griffin, 6'4", 240. Juwan Johnson, 6'4", 231. Adam Troutman, 6'5", 253. Nick Vanett, 6'6", 257. I mean, you can say they wanted guys who can block, who can run and catch the ball, and who are tall, who can get up and get that ball. We're in good shape, I think, at tight end.
Yeah, because what it comes down to is really you're looking at guys that can get you the first down. You're looking at guys that can get in the middle and maybe over the top down in the red zone. Because I think sometimes that was probably our weakest link is inside. We could always move the ball downfield, but in at least the way I see it, I always felt that we kind of struggled in the red zone.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to skip the offensive line. Jeff has repeatedly said we have one of the best offensive lines in football. He says the same thing about the defensive line, that our defensive line is going to be one of the best in football, even with the fact that David Onyemata is going to have this NFL suspension for 6 games. They still think they've got some studs. That means that Marcus Davenport has got to step up. But they still feel good about the situation. Linebackers, Demario Davis, Quan Alexander, Zach Bond, Andrew Dowell, Caden Ellis, and then Chase Hansen. And then I can't pronounce his other kid's name. Do you know Tano Posagun? How do you say his name? I don't know. I'm gonna get Jeff to teach me how to say his name. And then Pete Werner. Boy, these guys, when you look at our defensive line and then you look at our linebackers, man, we've got that's the core of the defense. These guys are ready to roll, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. We got about 25 seconds left, but Demario Davis is going to be the key to that defense. He is going to be the new voice of the Saints. He's going to be the one that leads them in the huddle every pregame before they get to work out. Demario Davis is going to be the key this year.
Last thing, Marshawn Lattimore, it looks like he may not get suspended anytime soon. And then you've got really great play from Ken Crawley. He's coming on strong. And the rookie Paulson Adebo, man, they're really high on this kid. So, the defensive backs have overperformed in the preseason. Hopefully they continue to do that going forward. Saints defense is going to be a strength. Anyway, we'll see you Monday, and we look forward to having more conversations here on Coast Vue. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.